Before you start writing down in the comments, Dan, Barca can't afford any new signing. Okay, you're right. Barca in the short term owe 19 clubs a total of 126 million euros in outstanding payments on transfers. The overall amount that the club owes for transfers is 196 million euros, which includes an outstanding payment for Coutinho of 40 million euros. The situation the Culés are watching play out currently with Eric Garcia is a microcosm of this larger issue. You know the facts. Eric Garcia could arrive from Man City on a free transfer in the summer. It seems that the presidential candidates are divided on the matter. Juan Laporta is saying don't make the deal. Victor Font reportedly used his relationship with Ferran Soriano to get the transfer fee down to $3 million in January. The worst part is that a report was leaked in favor of the Garcia signing in January, with uncomplimentary statements about Samuel Umtiti's health and Oscar Mingueza's big game preparedness. The argument some seem to be making is that Garcia is necessary now, but I would say the better argument is that Garcia could sign elsewhere in the summer. That said, many have commented that if Garcia does that, then maybe he didn't want to come home in the first place, which would be weird and out of character for the young man. Transfers are an ugly business, and it has been frustrating to see people make claims about a player's character or disparage his ability because they don't like the idea of paying money right now. In the market, even for 6 months, 3 million euros is more than fine for a Man City center back. He just turned 20, is a regular for Spain already, and a rotation player for Man City. He was a captain in the academy before he left, so I'm going to trust all those people, even if he is just a 20-year-old who still needs to improve his defensive skill set. Based on what we've seen of his character, if Garcia wants to come home, he will do it in the summer on a free, and Barca don't need to spend right now. In fact, the name of this video is all about Erling Haaland, so let's start part 2 of that declaration. As much as I like to imagine what a perfect Barca would look like to me with players that I think would fit perfectly, Haaland is the only player that Barca should be looking to pay a transfer fee for at least for the next year. That means that while I'm not entirely sold on the idea of Memphis Depay, his positioning and role at Lyon remind me of Coutinho and Griezmann, so I really don't want to repeat that. But he could be a free transfer this summer. The other name being floated around is Juan Bernat, a 27-year-old left-back who has spent time dealing with injuries while being the regular backup and a rotation player at Bayern Munich and now PSG, after getting his start at Valencia. He could also be available on a free this summer. When looking at the current players in Barca's squad, and assuming that Eric Garcia is on the way, plus the assumption that Emerson from Real Betis could be part of the right-back picture and technically return from the loan at Real Betis, though I think Barca may be interested in letting Betis just purchase him. But anyway, looking at the squad, the problem areas are a like-for-like backup for Busquets, a backup or future starter at left back, and a number 9. We talk a lot about La Masia and the few number of players that make the jump to the first team. And we may have a case where the players that are needed make the jump, and some players who might be better players can't make that same jump. Meaning, for Alex Gallardo to continue at Barca, Messi would need to leave, and then Gallardo needs to beat out Dembélé and Trincao or Pedri and Puig for minutes on the right wing or as an interior. He can do it, but it'll be difficult. Even Conrad de la Fuente is in direct competition with Ansu Fati, and I guess Coutinho, Griezmann, and Braithwaite, depending on formations and all of that. But for Jandro Oriana and Alejandro Balde, even if they aren't necessarily even ready or shaping up to be top players, they are 2 players with Barca B that fit the need for the first team for the next year. Oriana is a La Masia trained pivot, and Balde is a backup left back. It doesn't look like Barca will be able to go out and buy all of the like-for-like backup for Busquets, which Pjanic and De Jong are not, a left back and a number 9. And looking at Barca this year, if you can only get one of those positions, you have to put all your chips in for that potentially generational goal scorer. Things have to go right for Barca, both fiscally, of course, but also timing. Lautaro Martinez was maybe never actually in the cards. Yes, Barca really couldn't afford him, but more importantly, Inter Milan with their new investment were more than willing to pay him to stay. And with top forwards like that, the one you win Champions League trophies with, the list is small. If Lautaro isn't on there, Robert Lewandowski will never leave Bayern, Luis Suarez is still scoring an elite rate, but we talked about that plenty on recent podcasts, and Kylian Mbappe seems destined for Real Madrid. And you'd also need to get him out of PSG's clutches, making him very unlikely. Somehow, the ageless Zlatan Ibrahimovic is near the top of the European goal-scoring charts, as are Andre Silva at Frankfurt and Ciro Immobile at Lazio. But I think the ship has sailed for those two as potential generational signings for the Blaugrana. Boulaye Dia, a name not many Culés may be familiar with, has 12 goals this year in Ligue 1. But you'd think we'd have heard more about the 24-year-old before now. When looking at the list of options, I don't see anyone more qualified than Erling Haaland. For starters, his agent is Mino Raiola, so it should make everyone uncomfortable doing business with him, mainly because of his high commissions and agent fees. That said, the likely next president of Barcelona, Juan Laporta, does have a positive relationship with him, or at least says he does, so maybe, and a tiny maybe, Negotiations will go a little better than recent dealings with him. Now to Haaland himself. Probably the reason you clicked on this video, right? There seems to be a groundswell of support for this notion that Haaland isn't a Barca player, or wouldn't fit at the club. I don't know what you've watched, but I can say I've watched hours and hours of the Norwegian powerhouse, and I don't know where people are getting that idea from that he won't fit at Barcelona. His first touch is improving and evolving. With a player of his profile, you aren't looking for a Romario first touch. You're looking for an, at best, Luis Suarez first touch, which Haaland may work his way up to with the right manager and the right teammates around him. At Dortmund, the players he works symbiotically with, starting with Gio Reyna, the touch and chemistry is very good, but that's not the case for all his teammates. That would need to improve at the Camp Nou. Okay, so that's really the one big weakness. The only glaring weakness, I'd say. And yes, it could be a big one, but he does so many other things at an elite level, and he's still improving at the age of 20, that his one weakness doesn't disqualify him from being a very good fit in Catalonia. I would also start to push back on that touch argument, because he's being asked to do different things at Dortmund with said touch. He can often serve as an outlet for a long pass from the keeper, an option that even Suarez couldn't offer as often in the later years because of his mobility once the ball was in the air. And Haaland's hold-up play is well beyond his years. This is where his touch comes into play. He's a top forward at finding the runs working either alongside him or in a slow build-up. He's 1.94 meters or 6 foot 4 inches, and he would be a hold-up presence that Barca hasn't seen in quite some time. And just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean that it's wrong. The game is changing and evolving, and this kind of forward is finding a rejuvenated role against teams that want to play a high line and try to push bodies forward. And for Barca, I would think of that as a plan B. Because plan A is getting Haaland the ball to run onto in space. He averages around 30 kilometers per hour on his runs, with a top speed clocked at 34 kilometers or 21.1 miles per hour. To put that into context, that puts him just outside the top 10 for fastest clock top speed in top flight football. Mbappe is tops at 36 kilometers per hour, Iñaki Williams at 35.7, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at 35.5. So any notion that he's a slow, plodding forward is just not true. In fact, his long strides allow him to make up space quicker, going about 2 meters with every stride, 20 meters in 2.7 seconds. Where he could fit perfectly is with his favorite run that ends with a goal. It's a fake to the far post when occupying the attention of both center backs, and then a dart in front of the center back closer to the near post. He does it more times than you think, and even if opponents know it's coming, they fail to stop it. And this happens very quickly. In the 2019-20 season, 30% of his goals came on the break. Again, for context, and yes, Dortmund style versus Bayern style is part of the picture, but Lewandowski scored just 4% of his goals on the break. His link-up play isn't necessarily elite by any measure. He only creates a little over one chance per match. But you'd hope that the likes of Pedri, Fati, Dembele, and maybe even the new goal-scoring Frenkie de Jong, plus Haaland, all averaging more than one chance per match, that puts the attack's expected goal at a more than reasonable figure. Another quick drawback is that he actually hasn't scored as many header goals as expected for his club for a man his size, but he scored them for Norway at a better rate, and I think that again comes down to the types of goals that Dortmund is trying to score. The same would go for Barca and the methodical build-up we've come to expect, but hey, you never know. Let's end it with the actual goal numbers. He had the top conversion rate in Europe as a teenager while in Austria at RB Salzburg, and he continued to rank high on that list the last 2 seasons. 21 goals in 19 games this campaign, and 44 goals in 40 games plus 10 assists last season. That sounds pretty good to me, and that's mainly why I think Erling Haaland should be the only transfer fee that Barcelona pays in the next maybe year and a half. Hopefully he wants to come, hopefully Barca can afford him, and hopefully another team doesn't snatch him up first. But that's for future me to discuss, I guess. So for now, it'd be a big help if you could give us a like and subscribe, and thank you for helping us to get to 5,000 subscribers. And until next time, Forza Barca.